Hello, this video will give you a brief overview of the new features that have been added to the unit test framework in Enterprise Developer version 9. Since the late 80s, with the introduction of the SUnit framework and developing through the 90s with JUnit, unit testing has become an industry standard technique for new software development. Many organisations see a long-term future for their existing applications and therefore want COBOL to be able to participate in the more agile methods. But historically, writing unit tests for large, complex COBOL programs has been challenging, if not impossible. The Micro Focus unit test framework was introduced in 2015 and has since developed over that time, but the ability to write unit tests for COBOL programs running in mainframe subsystems such as CICS has been limited. In 9.0, we have extended the capabilities to allow developers to write self-contained unit tests for programs that contain both exec CICS and exec SQL statements, allowing COBOL logic within these programs to be tested without the presence of the relevant subsystem and data infrastructure. And these tests can be used within a CI pipeline. If we consider unit testing in the context of COBOL programs written for mainframe subsystems, then traditionally unit testing actually meant running the program either via JCL or as part of a transaction within CICS or RMS, but ultimately meant running the whole program. Sometimes with added display statements, and then over time adding the benefit of a line-by-line debugger. There are some options on the market that do attempt to detach the unit test from the subsystem by mocking and or capture replay techniques for the infrastructure and data code elements, but still running the whole program as part of the test. What we have introduced in Enterprise 9.0 is the ability to reveal the COBOL procedural code that is the real element that requires testing. This can be achieved by either ignoring the infrastructure and data code or by mocking only those statements needed to provide the procedural code with sufficient data to support the unit test. But that's enough of the theory. Let's take a look at this in practice.
Welcome. The objective of this demo is to show you how you can create a self-contained unit test that ignores an exec SQL statement in order to get access to some COBOL logic that you want to unit test. What we would like to do is create a unit test for this particular paragraph. But this SQL statement is getting in the way of the business logic. So what we want to do is use the scene preprocessor to ignore this statement, and then I can perform that particular paragraph and pass in results, pass information to exercise this bit of code here. Okay, so let's do that. What I've just done is I've cut and pasted the actual unit test and placed it into a source file that's picked up by the scene preprocessor. And in this case, it's prefixed with MFU PD underscore and then the actual name of the COBOL program .cpy. And the PD stands for the procedure division, and it inserts this code into the procedure division of the actual COBOL program. And you can see it's a unit test because it's as an entry point MFUT, and you can see it has a name. Okay, so let's actually execute this example. Okay, so we can now see a unit test has been executed. We have a results directory. It has some results in it, and you can see it's displayed pass. Okay, so let's go back to the actual unit test itself. And just to make sure that it's actually doing what we expect, let's just change the display statement so it displays the best com field. Execute it again, and we can go back to the actual results, and we can see it has a reasonable value in there, so we can conclude the actual unit test is working as we expected. The objective of this demo is to show you how you can generate code for a program that contains exec CICS statements, and then how you can wire a test case up for it. The first thing we need to do is generate an exec report file, and the easiest way to do that is to use the MFU PPDIR, and this has already been wired up for it, so I'll just save that file, and you can see it's accepted the exec report file directive. We now have an appropriate file. I'm going to create a directory for the test cases. I'm going to move that file into this directory. Next thing I'm going to do is generate some test cases from that file. This time I'm also passing an extra directive that says skip any default creations of the actual snippets if they don't have an ID specified. This will reduce the size of the actual file that's been generated. Now the next thing we need to do is put a test case in. So I'm going to go back to the test case. Now I've got a test case in place. Now if I run that, then it will fail because I don't have any mocking in place. Okay, we can see that's my failing. Before they do that, I'm going to go and make a little change and get rid of any warnings because we're not interested in those. Now we'll have a clean report. So if I go and look at the report, it basically just tells you if it's failed on test case number 1. Now I need to go and alter the set hello statement, which is the kicks set control. Now if I go back to that, I find the exec kicks and control, put the muck statement in there, which just returns the value into the message. I now build it, and it now passes. And if we go back to the actual report, we can see it's got the message, and it's been checked to see if it's reversed correctly, because part of the actual call program reverses the actual string, and then in the actual test case we have to reverse it and then check it. So we can see that's worked. So to summarize, what we've done, we've taken a kicks COBOL program, used the preprocessor to generate a report file, and we've used that to generate some test cases, and then we've wired up a simple mock statement to a test case.
Those two demos have given you a brief insight into the new capabilities added to the unit test framework in Enterprise Developer 9.0. To summarise, we have included 2 features into the Scene preprocessor. The first is the ability to remove or ignore exec-SQL and exec-kick statements to reveal the logic you wish to test. And the second is to allow you to mock exec-SQL or exec-kick statements, giving the ability to selectively provide just enough data to test the required COBOL logic. If you'd like to try the unit test framework for yourself, exploring not only these new features, but all the capabilities to help you produce unit tests for COBOL programs, then take a look at the many samples provided in this GitHub repository. And thank you for taking time to watch this video.